It turns out that Dr. Ravi Zacharias never got a PhD. In fact, he never even got an academic advanced degree. He has a pastor's degree, a master's in divinity, an MDiv. That's a non-academic professional degree, no PhD. But he calls himself Dr. Zacharias. What's with that? It turns out that over the years, a bunch of his Bible buddies have given him honorary doctorates, and he uses those honorary doctorates as the basis for calling himself Dr. Ravi Zacharias. That is a major ethical no-no. The difference between a real doctorate and an honorary doctorate is the difference between having climbed Mount Everest and having someone give you a t-shirt that says, "I climbed Mount Everest." And if you're a slightly pathetic person who really cares what people think about you, you're going to wear that t-shirt at mountaineering conventions knowing full well that it's going to mislead people, but you don't care because it's going to make them think more highly of you. So you do it. This is exactly what Dr. Ravi Zacharias does with his honorary doctorates. He hangs out at universities all around the world in academic environments where the title doctor really, really means something. It means you've dedicated many years of your life to becoming a top expert in a field. You've written a doctoral dissertation where you've made an original contribution to the field. Ravi Zacharias has done none of that. Yet he calls himself a doctor. So I wrote to Mr. Zacharias and I said, "What's up, Doc?" I said, "What's up, dude?" I asked him about this. His ministry got back to me, and here's what they said. So you can easily look up Ravi Zacharias' biography on his website or Wikipedia, and it clearly shows that he has honorary doctorates. There is definitely no deception there. Now that's just false. Wikipedia, as of today's date, June 11th, 2015, and the past few weeks has said nothing about Ravi Zacharias having honorary doctorates. I'm not going to hold that against the nice folks at his ministry who've been really kind with me. That's just an oversight on their part. But what about the websites? Their own websites, Mr. Zacharias' own websites. Let's look at the one at the Oxford Center for Christian Apologetics, which he is a co-founder of. Ravi Zacharias has been conferred a Doctor of Divinity degree from both Houghton College and Tyndale College and Seminary, Toronto, and a Doctor of Laws degree from Ashbury College, Kentucky. Nothing there about honorary doctorates. So let's look at Ravi Zacharias International Ministries, rzim.org. See what they have to say about his bio. Ravi Zacharias has been honored with a conferring of 6 doctoral degrees, including a Doctor of Laws and a Doctor of Sacred Theology. Why don't they just use the word honorary doctorate? What's with this cagey language about having been honored with a doctorate? Being honored with a doctorate is nothing like being honored with an honorary doctorate. I was honored by the University of California at Berkeley with a master's degree, but that doesn't mean it was an honorary degree. In fact, it wasn't. So I'm inclined to want to use my copy and paste skills to send them the word honorary to use in front of all of his doctorates, because it seems to be lacking in their system. The only thing is, I don't think that's what's really going on here. I think Dr. Ravi Zacharias just kind of wants to downplay the fact that he's not a real doctor. Now, I suspect after I go live with this video, things are going to change over at RZIM and OCCA, and I applaud that change. Honesty is usually a better thing than dishonesty. I want to start on a positive note. Those of you who are with me on Exposing Ravi Zacharias Part 1 know that I've been taking the gentleman to task for being fundamentally dishonest around calling himself a doctor and failing to disclose that his degrees are all honorary. About 6 weeks ago, I let Mr. Zacharias know that I would be going public with this information, and I asked him for comment, and I'm happy to report that about 2 weeks ago, Mr. Zacharias began taking some small but significant steps towards being more honest in the way he presents himself to the public. Whereas in his old website he referred to himself as Dr. Zacharias 7 times, he's now only calling himself Dr. Zacharias there 3 times, and he started calling himself Mr. Zacharias, or just Ravi. I'm also happy to report that at one of his websites he's begun letting people know that his doctorates were honorary, although he has still not taken that step at others. But these are significant steps, and this is a difficult transition for Mr. Zacharias, to go from being doctor to just being plain old Mr. And he deserves our support as he goes through this process. Here's the really big problem for Mr. Zacharias. I began investigating him about 2 months ago, and I noticed that he claimed to have been a visiting scholar at Cambridge University. And I noticed that he made this claim all over the place. In his autobiography, on the jacket of one of the books that I have, in his speech bios. It didn't seem true to me. Being a visiting scholar at Cambridge is a big intellectual deal, and Ravi Zacharias, although he's a great speech maker, is not a big intellectual deal. So I contacted Cambridge University, and guess what? Here's what they told me. We can confirm that Mr. Zacharias spent a sabbatical at Ridley Hall in Cambridge, where his supervisor was Dr. Jeremy Begbie. Now that's explosive stuff, because Ridley Hall is a small church school that is not part of Cambridge University. So I wondered if perhaps Mr. Zacharias had been at Ridley and sat in on some classes at Cambridge, and if that justified him in calling himself a visiting scholar at Cambridge. So I asked Cambridge about that, and here's what they told me. Attending lectures and classes at the University of Cambridge, don't they have spell check at Cambridge? While on sabbatical at Ridley Hall would not confer University of Cambridge visiting scholar status on a student. Uh-oh. Ridley Hall is not a constituent part of the University of Cambridge. Now this wasn't looking really good for Mr. Zacharias, so I contacted his ministry, and here's what I said. Please understand that at this point I have tentatively concluded that Ravi Zacharias is lying about his visiting scholar status at Cambridge. And then I asked them to help show me that I am wrong. Full quote, see below. Now, although the good folks at Mr. Zacharias' ministry had been very responsive to my emails in the past, they didn't reply to this one. They did something better. They went and they changed his website to reflect the truth. Dr. Zacharias has been a visiting scholar at Ridley Hall, which just happens to be in the town of Cambridge. After all these years of telling us that he'd been a visiting scholar at Cambridge University. Now, why would Ravi Zacharias lie about that? I think I know why. If you read his autobiography, the single most prominent feature of this gentleman's character is that he cares deeply what people think about him. Now, if you tell folks that you went to Ridley, they're going to ask you if that's where they make the chewing gum. Whereas if you tell people you were a visiting scholar at Cambridge, they think more highly of you. So Ravi Zacharias just decided to lie about it.